We're a little over a week away from kickoff against Elon, and we had to come back, folks. We got our mailbag question episode just for you because of all the questions that we had last week. But thank you for joining us again for this episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, alongside my co-host, I can't talk tonight, Josh Cox, Scott Medlin, and Jamie Holt. And before we get into the meat of our episode, yes, Jamie waves to everyone, we've got some breaking news to talk about. QB1 was just named as of 7 minutes ago. We are recording on Monday night. We've got our questions, as I've stated, but before we get into all that, we've got something to discuss with all you fans, and that is a giveaway from one of our Hellraiser sponsors, one realtor, Matt Bliven. Now, remember, folks, Matt is a Durham native like yours truly, and Josh, and Jamie, and Scott. And you know what, folks? He's ready to tackle any question you might have pertaining to the real estate market, but he's upped his game for us. He is giving away 4 tickets to each Duke football game this home season, starting with next Friday's game against Elon. And we talked with Matt today, and we couldn't think of a better way to give away these 4 tickets to start the season out. Josh, really quick, if you could, give the fans the idea of what they have to do to be entered for the drawing for these tickets.
Absolutely. Well, some of you that are listening are going to be excited because you were already entered. We are taking those of you that have entered our stat prediction contest. We are taking that. We're gonna draw from those numbers, and whoever we draw will win 4 tickets to the Elon game. We'll get those tickets to you through the digital format. And so, if you have not yet done the stats prediction, we're gonna put this in the description, the link to it. We're gonna be tweeting it out. The deadline, Brian, for this is going to be a week from Wednesday. So the Wednesday before the game, that's when we're going to draw the name, and then we will get those tickets out. If you cannot use the tickets, please, and you win, let us know. We'll get them to the next person that we draw. And so that's a really cool thing. Obviously, want to thank Matt for that. Should I go into the next sponsor, Brian?
Well, really quick, I wanted to let folks know
go ahead.
if you're interested in talking with Matt further about buying, selling, investing, or even building in the triangle, give him a call, 919-323-0527, or email him at mlb@nestrealty.com. Now you can go, Josh.
There we go. Thanks to Matt. Big time friend of the pod. And then Home Field Apparel. You know about Home Field Apparel. If you know anything about athletics and vintage gear, they lead the way in that. And so they are partnered with us this year. And so we want to encourage you to go to homefieldapparel.com, search for Duke gear for any apparel at all there. If you use the code Section 17, straight through all caps, Section 17, when you check out, you get 15% off your first order. So we want to encourage you to do that. We are looking forward. We have not seen them yet, and we're on a little behind-the-scenes email with them. We still have not seen the coaches' jackets. We're not sure what they're going to look like, but we know they're releasing a Duke one here within the next few days. And so looking forward to that. That is, once again, homefieldapparel.com. Use code Section 17 at checkout.
And as I stated about 3-4 minutes ago when we opened, we finally know, fellas, who is going to be QB1 heading into the Elon game. We had some thoughts about who we thought would be starting the game for Duke, but it is officially official, as we like to say. Malik Murphy has been named QB1 for the Elon game. So real quick thoughts on that, and then we will get into the heart of the episode with all the questions you folks have submitted in the last couple of weeks. Again, thank you to each and every one of you for submitting the questions. So who wants to go first with their thoughts on Malik being named QB1? Anyone?
I'll go. I was
there
trying
you
to
go,
that mute button. Good Lord. I hope Malik's better with the mute button than I am. Because, it doesn't matter. Because he's the quarterback. He doesn't have to hit the mute button. I don't know what's going on here. I've already started off I'm on a tangent somewhere else. But yeah, we kind of knew that Malik was going to be the starter, right? I mean, it was a true battle, and Grayson acquitted himself really well. And we know that Grayson can win at the ACC level. We've seen it. But I think in this NIL era, Malik came here to be the starter, and that's what we got. And he's got a big arm, I'm really excited to see him against Elon, and hopefully our offensive line is up to task and gives them plenty of time, and we get to see that big arm used plenty.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. As we said last week, will he be mobile? Will he be a pocket passer? But at the end of the day, Coach Diaz and the staff know what they're doing. I think Grayson, obviously, he'll be there to support Malik. He'll help him, give him as many pointers as he can, and I mean, we all know you're one snap away from being the guy again. So it's going to be good. I think the fan base is ready to see Malik, and I mean, at this point, we're ready to see anybody. We're ready for football, but I think it's going to be good. Excited to see how Malik throws the ball, what we'll be able to do with this new offense, because there's just so many questions, and at least we have a answer going into the Elon game.
Yeah, and I would just add to what these guys said. Completely agree with everything that they've said, both with Malik and Grayson. I will say this: I would believe that leash might be shorter than what was originally planned. Back in the day, and so I think Grayson's done a good job in this offseason of supporting, being a good team player, but also upping his game. And Malik has risen to the challenge. I mean, Malik came here to start, to be the guy, but he got here and realized he had to earn it. He had to win it, and he's done that. And so kudos to both of those guys for being professionals at what they do, and for putting Duke in a great position to win no matter what. And so looking forward to seeing. We'll probably get to see a little bit of both of them, obviously in the first game, and then maybe even through the first 3 or 4 games. We'll see.
I still think it's QB1A, QB1B, just depending on the situation, the scenario, because Grayson really did put in a good fight in spring ball and fall ball. So, Malik, we're looking forward to seeing you on the field and seeing all you have to offer for this 2024 season. So, fellas, it's now time. As I stated, we had a ton of questions come through. So much that we had to make tonight's episode. We were going to try to do the predictions episode along with questions, but we would have been there 3.5, 4 hours. Y'all know me. I got to get in bed before 9 p.m. So we're pushing it already. But Jamie, you've got the stage. Get us started with our first question.
I can't wait for this. I cannot wait.
So, okay, let me preface this by saying, anybody who follows at the Duke of Cupa on Twitter knows that, like, every time they mention something about the Devil's Deck, he's commenting, and it's always pretty hilarious. So once again, our first question goes from at the Duke of Cupa. And he says, everyone wants to know about this big deck. Is it going to be erected in time for Elon? So I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. It
seems like it's taking a little while, huh?
it appears to be
So will it be
little failure to launch?
Fully erect by next Friday night?
So, in a serious note,
yes,
I've literally fielding people's questions about like what's going on with the Devil's Deck. Folks, I want you to listen to me very clearly. This is Duke University. There's a couple of things. The thing is going to be sturdy enough to hold people. I mean, this is not a third world country, number one. So it will be sturdy enough. I promise you, it is past all regulations to hold as many people as capacity can hold up there. So please stop with the thinking that like Duke threw out some like cardboard scaffolding and it's going to throw people on there. So it's all good. Secondly, this was the plan. It's going to be ready. It's going to be done. If you've seen them, seen some pictures from this weekend, it has already started to take shape. They've already got the grass, the fake grass, whatever that is, down there, and it's going to be a good time. And just as a reminder for that, Devil's Deck, if you purchase those tickets, it's in addition to your game ticket. But if you purchase it, it's $45 if you do it before game day. All you can eat, all you can drink, non-alcohol, and then it's $55 a day at the game. So it'll be like an add-on in your account. You have to scan a second time once you get in the stadium to get in there. So it's going to be super cool. But that was a great question, the Duke.
So what you're saying is going to be a pretty hard surface.
One would say.
Have we ever
All right.
met the Duke of Q Pie, by the way?
I don't think he's ever come
don't
and
be-
introduced himself.
I don't believe so.
All right, Duke of Q Pie, you've got to come find us this season. We always enjoy your questions, but we got to put a face with a name.
All right. Bentley Weeks. This is from Facebook. And I thought this was a pretty good question because I think it could be quite a few. How many games are decided by 7 points or less? And what games are they? So, I mean, I'll go since I'm unmuted. And I mean, y'all might differ from me, but looking at the schedule, I mean, obviously Elon, if that's decided by 7 points or less, we're in trouble. So I'm gonna say no on that one. But Northwestern, at Northwestern, I mean, it could be an ugly game. I could see that being, 17-10, 17-13.
And remember, they were really good last year after our game.
Right.
They went on a good run.
Right. So
Retain the coach. Yep.
yeah, UNC. I mean, absolutely.
Are you just going to go through the whole schedule? We'll just stay.
I mean, I'm
muted.
just no. I'm just trying to think of which games I think are 7 points or less. I mean, because I think a lot of them are going to be.
UNC for sure. We always.
Yeah.
It seems like these last 2 years, it has been closer than it should have been. Georgia Tech in Atlanta, that always seems to be a close game. Duke should have been blown out last time they were in Atlanta, but they came back late and they failed to execute the win. My one game that might surprise folks is the SMU game, but I've got that in my predictions as Duke beating SMU, but I still think it's going to be a close one in Wallace Wade.
Yeah, that could be like a shootout. I mean, you could be looking 50 to, whatever.
Kind of like how the pick games have been in the past for Duke.
That's what I was going to say. SMU could be the replacement for Pitt on the lighting up the scoreboard.
Any others, Scott, Josh, you can think of on the schedule?
I don't. Maybe Miami. By then
I've
we'll
got us
actually
winning that game.
wait a bit. But at this point, though, by then we'll actually know what Miami is in November instead of the media darlings. That we'll see if they live up to that hype.
And then you've got Wake, Virginia Tech, State in November. I don't see the State game. I'm sorry, Duke fans. I think State's the real deal this year. Wake, if Duke's playing with all their players, no injuries, knock on wood, I don't see that one being close in Duke's favor. Virginia Tech, I just don't know. A lot of people are on that hype train for Virginia Tech, and it's going to be late in the season, so who knows? But
it's at Wallace Wade, but I mean, once again, Virginia Tech fans travel, so Duke fans get out to the stadium because the Virginia Tech fans will be there.
If we play Inner Sandman that game, I'm not going to be happy.
We have to show honor and respect to our opponents, Brian.
I believe that's one of the questions coming up.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Jamie Latham off of Facebook as well. I was trying to do these every other one, but apparently I screwed that up. Sorry. Other than the North Carolina game, do you see Wallace Wade sold out like it was last year for Clemson and the Notre Dame game? If so, what game?
Yeah, man. So I would say a Florida State game has a chance. They travel well, but I don't know that they travel as good as like Clemson. I'm not sure about that. So I mean, Duke's gonna have to show up to pack that out, and then we've just mentioned it. I think the Virginia Tech game, depending if Virginia Tech is top 15 in the country, they're sitting on 2 or 3 losses at the most, then they're bringing the whole crew. If they're overhyped and they're sitting there with 4 wins currently, then it'll still be decent, but it's not going to be great. So I think those are the two that you have a chance.
And how many teams really bring the amount of fans that Notre Dame does? I mean, because you got so many people that are just fans of Notre Dame. They might not
local.
have. They're just local here, and they have fans of Notre Dame.
I could see potentially, because it's their first year in the ACC, SMU, if they're doing good. If they're not doing good, I don't see their fans traveling. But that's is that October as well? Is that the last October game?
Yeah, that's the game
so.
after
And
Florida
I have
State,
no
the
idea.
26th.
Yeah, I have no idea what they usually how many.
Well, they were good last year. They went to the Fenway Bowl and they lost to Boston College. But again, first year in the ACC, you've got teams like Stanford, and SMU. All these fans haven't seen some of these stadiums, and forgive me, I know Wallace Wade isn't exactly a football mecca yet to go to, or like it used to be, but you just never know depending on how the records are.
All right. Next question comes from our guy JD at FishFry02. It's another kind of spin on the Devil's deck, but I thought it was a different question, so I went ahead and put this one in there too. How do you feel about the school cutting seats to add a tailgate zone for an extra fee? And I will say this, we've talked about this before. I mean, I've been in favor of cutting seats for a while. I mean, I think Duke should be like 25K max, so that, I mean, because we could come closer to selling out every game if we're at 25K. I mean, because what do we average, like
About that.
15K? Yeah,
Well,
15 to 25K depending on which
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, don't
Well,
talk
and
about the
depending on
weekend.
what the actual numbers are. So what's the reported number and what's the actual number? Who really knows?
Yeah, don't talk about the game after Thanksgiving that's played usually.
Yeah,
in
we're at
Wallace
Wake
Wade.
this year, thankfully for that.
I will say this. I can't tell you the last time I've been to a Duke game where tickets were hard to find. Yes, Clemson. Well, no, I don't even think Clemson
We
was
didn't
full.
sell out Clemson.
No, we didn't sell out Clemson. Notre Dame was close.
That was a sellout. We added
That's
bleachers.
right. Added. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't there again. COVID 1, Brian 0. If you remove the seats and you go from 40,000 to 35,000, it's not going to do much until this team consistently wins. I would say 9 to 10 a season.
I don't know that it ever matters. Between 35 and 40, I don't think it ever matters.
But it also depends on the teams that are coming in, non-ACC.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I mean, so Duke's banking on number one. That's few and far between. Number
Yep.
two, a bunch of those people will buy Devil's Deck tickets.
Yep.
So they're gonna make that money. And then what I like about it is it's gonna make the stadium look fuller. So when I was talking with Duke about this, that means it's gonna push people, especially in those like 12 sections 12, 13, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's going to push people that way. And so the camera angle, comes from the tower. It's going to make it look fuller in there, which I think could be, it's going to help. That'll help Duke for sure. So
I don't see this as a loss.
no.
I mean, for those folks that are not upset about it, but just they don't like change, I understand in a sense. But at the same time, this team has not consistently sold out a season since the late 80s.
Yeah, even if then, and I would remind people, Duke did not do this just kind of on a whim. Duke hired a company called Endeavor to come in at the end of last season, and they did a complete overhaul of the game day experience. That's how we landed the Rachel Demita thing. That's why we're doing these things. So this wasn't something Duke just decided to do. This is something that was like researched and like kind of cutting edge. I mean, really, like you have schools seeing the celebrity host thing, and they're like, "Whoa, like we're behind on this. We need to move forward." Being able to sit on a couch when in the stadium and watch a game, that's something that you don't have most places. Being able to, your kids can be throwing cornhole and you're watching the football game like as it's being played, like that's super cool. And like so anyway, I love it, and I would sacrifice 5,000 more seats if they wanted to put a second one around.
And if we're being honest, unless you're a Michigan, an Ohio State, an Alabama, I'll throw in Georgia now, it's hard to get stadiums full these days with all the technology that we as fans have at our fingertips. I can pull up any game right now on this phone that I want to watch with the myriad of subscriptions that I could sign up with. So these schools are starting to realize that unless they have that fan base that of generations like a Notre Dame, a Georgia, or whoever, it's going to get tougher and tougher to attract those same fans to stay at a game. Some fans, I mean, they're still leaving at halftime, regardless of what your team is. So I commend Duke for going out and trying something different, and who knows, they might expand off of that if it's popular.
Well, and then I'll leave this alone after this. I think the other thing is just the expanded way of like TV. Like you guys know, we're at every home game, and sometimes we're texting our friends who aren't at the game, going, "Hey, they're replaying it. What does it look like?" Right? And you're getting to see that. So I understand how some people who may not want to park and walk and be in the elements, they're like, "Hey, I could stay home." Like I remember back in the Gunnar Holmberg years when we swore we saw Gunnar and Cutcliffe have an exchange when Gunnar left the field one time, and sure enough, people that were watching at home were like, "Hey, they just had like a they just went at each other a little bit there. That got caught on camera." And so, like, there are things that you see on TV that you really can't catch, when you're at a game. And so, I mean, honestly, I understand it. So it's up to Duke to do exactly what they're doing, right? To figure out ways to get the casual fan more involved in there, even if it means that they're playing cornhole instead of sitting at the 50-yard line staring at the play. So, I think Duke's that's just what they're doing. And I think it's a good thing. I would much rather Duke be leading the way in trying all these new things than lagging behind like they so often have done. And then we're like, why has everybody else got all the cool stuff? So I'm 100% down with it.
Yeah, TV absolutely has affected attendance at all games. I mean, when I was a kid, you had to go to Wallace Wade if you wanted to see Duke, or you had to listen to Bob Harris, right? They were rarely on the TV unless they were the Raycom Jefferson Pilot
The
game of the week or
Jefferson
something.
Pilot Sports
Like,
Game of the Week. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
All of us.
And honestly,
remember
there'd
that.
be maybe like 2 games a year that you could watch on TV.
Right,
The
right.
Carolina game every year, and then probably one other one.
So
Waker,
you're listening,
Virginia.
or you're
Yep.
actually going to Wallace Wade. So
And I'll end it with this. And again, thanks, JD, for the question. With the Devil's deck, when my boys come with me, more than likely we will be in there because that keeps them occupied, like you were saying, Josh, with the yard games and everything like that. I want to be there for the entire game. I want to watch the whole game. My boys don't have that attention span. So instead of hearing, "Daddy, I want to go home at halftime. I'm tired," or "I don't want to be here," now there's more of an opportunity for them to stay entertained to where it's like, "Hey, oh, you want to eat something? Well, just go get something. Or you want something to drink? Go get something to drink. And here's this and here's that game." They can stay entertained while I can continue to watch the game with, friends and family and other Duke fans. And again, I don't see this as a negative thing. This is going to bring, I believe, more people to the stadium that might have those smaller kids to say they have something to do. It's not just sitting in the stands going, "I'm bored. What are we going to do?" So,
all right, we'll move on to the next question now. And this comes from Tyler Lester, one of our GA scumbag friends. Who do you guys consider Duke's biggest rival to be outside of UNC State and Wake? And he said he thinks Georgia Tech since 2010 feels like the obvious answer. And for me, so I'm unmuted. I'll go, and then you guys can say. I might take some of y'all's. I don't know. For me, I feel like it was UVA. I feel like that got a little chippy with Cutcliffe, especially. We were beating them for a little bit, and then wheels fell off, and we couldn't beat UVA. And then when Elko came and Tony Elliott went to UVA, that was another thing. We heard the Tony Elliott, he could be my DC, my defensive coordinator or whatever. And that felt a little like still like Duke and Virginia got a little bit chippy, but I don't know. Like, what do you guys think?
Pitt, when we were in the Coastal together, that was the one game that Duke fans wanted to win. And there was that long streak to where it would be one of those shootouts, and every time Duke would find a way to not win the game. And then last year was was it last year the stupid pigeon game where they went up to Pittsburgh? I'm telling you folks, the groundskeeper put down bird seed on that field before the game because those pigeons would not have been on the field had it not been for something planted there. But obviously now with the reshuffling of the ACC, Duke doesn't see Pitt every year, but I would say Pitt from when did they start the Coastal and Atlantic? Right when Cut started, 8, 9. It just seemed like every year that was one game that Duke fans circled, and it was always for the most part, a good game. It's just Pat Narduzzi had our number for the most part. I would say Pitt, but obviously that rivalry is going to be put to bed for a little while. Scott,
The U, just because it goes back to the one game. I hate those folks because of that one night. And those are some of the most obnoxious people you'll ever meet, next to the Muffy and Buffy in Chapel Hill. But other than that, I mean, I hate Miami fans. They're all a bunch of jerks, a bunch of idiots. They think they're better than everybody else. They haven't done anything since Jimmy Johnson was there 700,000 years ago. So that, to me, I think is a big rivalry, because I think a lot of Duke fans just do not care for Miami. Ask Brandon Johnson what he thinks of them.
Muffy and Buffy from Chapel Hill. I love that. I love that.
They're in the blue zone, Josh.
Yeah, that's right. They're in the blue zone. They go to 2 games a year. Anyway, so I love all those answers. I'm actually, I don't really have a hard stance on any of this, but I like what Tyler said, and I think it goes back to the Paul Johnson, David Cutcliffe. Paul Johnson was on the list. Duke wound up not calling him, went after Cutcliffe, and then every year it seemed like we had a bye week the week before the Georgia Tech game, and Johnson would complain to the ACC about it every year. And we beat them, and Cut, for some reason, Cut knew how to play against that offense. He knew how to defend it really well. And so I love that one. I don't know that, like, when I saw Georgia Tech on the schedule there, I was like, oh, rivalry game. I think, probably the one that hits me, I would probably agree with Jamie, maybe is Virginia. But all that to say, it's been very interesting outside of the state. I think now with Scott saying Miami, the 2015 game, and then now that Manny is here with his history at Miami, I think this season, this Miami game is going to mean a little bit more, as long as Manny's the head coach. So great question. Great question. Shout out, Tyler.
All right. And our next one comes from @NoahLunsford6. That's our guy. Mr. Lost his shoe and still cannot find it. No telling where it is now. This is along that line of question. Jordan had his flu game. Noah had his shoe game. What comes next? And I would say, Scott had his medical tent game.
Yep.
I had the flagpole game.
Yep.
Where what was I there, like 30 seconds before I went down?
Yeah,
So,
Brian had the handshake game.
Brian had the
DJ.
handshake game.
So I don't have a game.
So Josh has to fall down the steps or something.
Bro, my fat tail. Yeah, I don't know. I think we need like a Manny beard game. I think Manny needs to grow that thing out, maybe in a bye week, and like have it like a real beard. Like, he's kind of got the like 5 o'clock shadow going on.
Not anymore. Did you see the team photo?
Yeah, I know he's growing. It needs to get big though. I need to see that big Cuban beard.
No, he shaved. That's what I'm saying.
Did he shave?
Yeah. If you look at the team photo.
Well, that was taken. Wasn't that taken a couple weeks ago?
It's last Saturday, I think.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I think
okay.
That dude can grow a beard in like 12 hours.
I know.
Like me.
I would love to see like a long Manny beard. I think that would be good, like a beard game.
I'm going to call it right now that you asked for the one game. Todd Polino is going to kick the game-winning field goal against North Carolina in Wallace Wade.
The Todd Polino game.
And just walk off the field. Josh is going to be screaming like a schoolgirl. Security's going to have to hold him back because of the restraining order.
So didn't he win the weight game last year? Yeah, he did. So that would be a second one. And but you're right, Brian. I don't think about the weight game because it's not UNC.
The bell.
And actually that weight game, what I remember the most is that was Grayson. That was Grayson's first game. And we got the win.
Would Todd find an inflatable to kick, like, somewhere?
Do y'all remember that game?
Oh yeah, that was terrible. I was there.
I was there too. Duke spent their entire budget on this big inflatable helmet, and they thought they had the game won. The UNC kicker kicks the field goal. It goes up. Duke fans think it's going wide right. Then it comes back in. It goes through. The kicker runs the length of the field and drop kicks the helmet with his cleats, and you just see the helmet go just destroyed the inflatable.
By the way, since we're on this topic, a rare W from Mac Brown this week. A rare one. And he doesn't get many of them. But the ACC, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, the ACC reached out to him and said that his team can no longer go down to the student section between the third quarter break and the beginning of the fourth quarter. And he replied, "That's our break. We'll do what we want."
So he's basically
rare W.
So he's basically Clint Eastwood and Gran Torino now.
You know, Max, like, what are you gonna do to me? Like, what are you gonna do? So I got respect for that. I can get behind that.
All right, so we got a couple of questions along the same line too, and one of them was this first one here is where Noah added this to his first question, and so I'll read these questions and then we'll see what you guys think. So Noah said, and of course, on a more serious note, do you guys think we're going to see a lot of rotation with some of our younger guys more than years past? And at Crimroy12 had a similar question asking about the biggest impact newcomers, freshmen or transfers. And then our guy Sam at Bleed In Duke Blue, he wanted to know who is one player on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball that most don't know about as we enter into the season, but by the end could be a very familiar name to Duke fans.
That's LA Dodgers all day there, Scott.
I mean, they're in first place about like 20 games. So
You know.
when they win another ring, when they're full season, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll go
Kyler
first.
Kedner too.
I'll go first on this one. I'm going to name you two players, and I think they fit in kind of all of that. Yeah, that was a good job, Jamie, kind of consolidating those. I'm going to give you one offensive player, one defensive player. You guys can agree, disagree, move around, do whatever. I think on offense, it's going to be Chase Tyler. He's a freshman, true freshman. I've seen him in practice. Brian's seen him in practice. He is the real deal. He's big. He's quick. He seems to run routes really well. He's got great hands. And so I don't know where he's going to fall in that rotation because obviously you've got Samir and Jomo that are cemented into their roles. You've got Eli, who's pretty much cemented in. You got Javon Harvey, who's going to be in that rotation. And then it's kind of wide open from there. You got John Tavis is back, but then you got Chase. Anyway, it could be interesting there. So I'm going to go Chase Tyler as a true freshman on offense. And then on defense, I'm going to go Alex Howard. He is the linebacker transfer from Youngstown State, went to spring ball in the place we don't want to name in College Station, and left after spring ball and came to Duke. And I think I think we're going to see a lot from him. And I think by the end of the season, Duke fans are going to know who Alex Howard is for sure.
I mean, I would say Charles on defense from Lord's School. And I mean, Harvey, I think is going to be great. I really think that fans are going to love, and I'm going to go 1A, 1B. I am going to hedge it. Star Thomas. I think he's going to have a really good season, and I think fans are going to love having him as the 2A, 2B guy coming out of the backfield.
And I would add another name. He's not necessarily a newcomer. We've seen him before, but Peyton Jones. I mean, I feel like he could have a big year. He looks like he's ready to have a big year. I mean, he really does. And I agree with what Josh said and what Scott said too. Charles from Liberty seems like a great candidate to have a breakout season too. Anything to add, Brian?
Nope. The Lord's
We just went
transfer.
through the whole roster.
Yeah. You know me. When the write-ups come out, sticker helmet to the entire Duke roster. So
I want to give
sticker.
a helmet sticker to the athletic department.
The student body. Jared Hussey off of Facebook said if you could secure a lucrative Pop-Tart sponsor, but you each had to eat one on the pod, disgusting, and keep it down for a full minute, would it happen? Would it happen? So I guess if I had to eat one, I mean, maybe the strawberry, I could get it down.
See, now you're going to make me look up these flavors. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
There's some
interrupt
new
you.
flavors that just hit, Brian.
Oh, Lord, yes. Fruit Loops.
Yeah, baby.
Whoo! My goodness. Y'all keep talking because I'm going to pull up this list and then we'll go through it.
I like Pop-Tarts. I could hit. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I could do the strawberry. Probably the s'mores. I could probably handle the s'mores as well.
All right.
What about you, Scott?
I would say something with chocolate.
Yeah, like s'mores.
I'm sure those got cookies and cream, something like that. Well, the s'mores, obviously, not to sound like you, but cookies and cream, that's my jam.
What we got, Brian?
Jamie's trying not to gag. All right. So here are the favorites: blueberry, Boston cream donut, frosted brown sugar. That was my favorite. Brown sugar cinnamon. Cherry. No. Chocolate chip, the frosted chocolate fudge. That was another good one. Confetti cupcake, cookies and cream, grape. I've never had that one. Hot fudge sundae, raspberry, strawberry, wild berry. Boy, they're really into the berries. Unfrosted blueberry.
Dingleberry.
The new ones: frosted apple cinnamon apple jacks, banana bread, chocolatey.
Oh, banana bread, bro! I am
Yeah.
down for that. Yes.
Strawberry milkshake and chocolatey chip pancakes. So, listen,
Dang.
they've got to step their game up for the Pop-Tarts Bowl that's coming up this year.
Man, what a heck of a question! That was a great question.
That's a good list. I mean, some of those flavors actually sounded good. If a Pop-Tart was good.
Listen, Pop-Tarts, if you ever watch this or listen, just disregard what Jamie says. Just
Now,
talk
now,
to
do
me.
you guys, I have a follow-up question. Do you guys heat yours up or do you eat it cold?
Absolutely.
You heat
Heat
it up?
Yes.
The one when I have eaten them, I've heated it up.
I don't eat them much. If I do, I just eat what I got.
Well,
Yeah, I don't necessarily have to heat mine up.
it
but I
depends
don't
on the
mind
flavor. It depends on the flavor
Yeah.
because some
Strawberry doesn't
flavors.
need to be heated up. per se.
No, that's one that you could go either way, but it's like
Yeah.
with the frosted brown sugar cinnamon, a whole lot better heated up.
That
Guys,
sounds good. I'm not
I
gonna
really
lie.
appreciate you listening to the Section 17 podcast where you are going to get elite coverage of Pop-Tarts.
Sorry. We're
we're
Pop-Tart foodies.
And if we get down there by God's grace for a bowl game,
Oh, it's over.
oh yeah. Whew.
I don't think I'm going. At Keith KE 423121004. And we kind of
8675309.
we kind of covered this sort of a little bit, but I'll ask it. Do you think it will be a 3-deep rotation at running back with Jacquez Moore, Peyton Jones, and the best back from the portal in Star Thomas?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I think that's a pretty safe assumption that they're all going to play.
I'm going 50, 25, 25. I'm going 50 Jacquez, 25, 25 the other two.
I can see it. Which one would be the goal line back?
Ooh,
Peyton.
that's a great question. I don't know. Stars, I don't know. So Trooper told us, and obviously he's no longer here, but they didn't necessarily utilize any of those guys as goal line backs or not. It was all about when it was just time for rotation, and there were certain criteria. Like I forget what it was, but he mentioned it on our pod. Like you rotate out at a certain time, no matter what. So that might be the way it runs. I don't know if anybody will be a goal line back per se.
True, that could still be the same way they do it.
Malik.
All right. All right. Michael Smith had a good question off of Facebook. What is the ceiling for this Duke team as far as wins, and what is the floor potentials for coming up this season? I kind of need to think about this. So
I'll follow. Or Scott, go ahead. You unmuted.
I think the ceiling could be 8. That's just my personal opinion.
Hey, Scott, let's pause there. So here's how we get to 8. How we get to 8 is you win the first 4, and then if you block the season off in 4s, right? So the first 4 you win. In the second group of 4 you win 2, and in the third group of 4 you win 2. There's your 8 wins. It is doable. It's just
the second group.
The chips are going to have to fall.
The second group of 4 is the group of death, as far as you want to be concerned. Then as far as the low, I think 4. I think Duke can win more than 4, and if it's just the first 4, it is going to be a long season.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm unmuted. I still think this team could potentially go 6-0 heading into the Florida State game if the chips fall the right way, because the first 4 are very winnable. Yes, Northwestern is a lot better. We talked about this last week in the predictions episode. We don't know what UNC is bringing to the table other than Omarion Hampton was just named to the preseason All-American team, which was crazy. Producer Tyler let me know about that. That just leads me to believe, though, they're going to be running the ball a lot, not passing the ball a lot. And then Georgia Tech is one of those wild card games, again, going down to Atlanta. Duke doesn't really perform well down in Atlanta. Plus Tyler Santucci, and who else is on the step? Yeah,
Jess Simpson, and then their quarterback is legit, man. Haynes King.
Right. So that could potentially be a toss-up. You go 6-0 into Florida State, which is a tall task no matter what your record is. I agree with Scott, and that I mean I said this team would go 8-4 this year in the predictions episode, but a lot of folks are saying 3-9, even 4-8, like Scott was saying. But we just don't know. Again, this is what the media said when Mike Elko's first season started. They're going to go 3-9. Even Nina King, folks, if you remember, told us, let's be patient. Let's not overreact. It's going to take some time to get this program to where we want it to be. First season, Duke was where everyone wanted it to be. So it really is a toss-up. I think the Elon game, you can't take much out of that unless, as Jamie said earlier, it is a close game. The Northwestern game is where you're really going to see where this team is, because Northwestern is a good team.
So for me, I mean, I got what I said in the prediction episodes. We'd go 9-3, and I also predicted we'd beat Florida State. So I'm gonna say the ceiling. I mean, hell, let's go big. Why not? Better go big or stay home. I'm gonna say the ceiling is 10-2, with losses being Florida State. Even though I predicted it in the predictions episode, I don't think we can beat Florida State. Depending on what I see, and at NC State. But then the rest of the games, I feel like, I mean, Duke can win those games. I mean, it's possible, but the floor is also, it's way down there. It's like 3-9, or 4-8, like what Brian's, or like what Scott said, I think. So I mean, it's kind of a big swing for this team. I mean, if the wheels start falling off, I could see it going south. But hopefully no less than 4-8 or 5-7. We'll see.
And don't forget, Duke's bye week, first bye week, is the week before Florida State. So Duke has 2 weeks to prepare. Plus, they don't have to go anywhere. And I don't know who Florida State plays the week before. So that could be still an interesting matchup depending on what the records are. Clemson. Oh, no. It's funny. Florida State has a bye week as well. Both Duke and Florida State have the bye week heading into that October 18th game. So never mind.
All right. Our next question, I got several questions about the same thing again, so I got them kind of grouped together. So once again, I'll do the same thing and kind of read them off, and then we can talk about it. At Big Papa RV starts us off with, what will the offensive line look like? He says, is that the biggest unknown? Similar question at CB Jones 725. How has the new O-line looked in practice? At Blade 4 Duke, he had a OL rotation question as well. And our guy from Wilmington at Kelly Rowe 910, living the life, living the dream.
Yep.
Down at the coast. Who knows? He gets to stay at the beach all the time. Like that's just amazing. And he had a offensive line question as well. And then I'll come back to Kelly Rowe because he had another question as well.
Yeah. So first of all, as far as practice goes, I don't know about Brian, the couple you've been to. It's really hard to get a feel for the offensive line at practice because they're not scrimmaging per se, and the scrimmages have been closed to media, and so we've not really seen them in action. As far as what the rotation is going to look like, I mean, you've got some surefire starters in Brian Parker, Bruno Fina, and then Justin Pickett. Justin Pickett, though, I don't know if this is breaking news or anything, but Justin Pickett's nursing an injury right now and trying to get ready for Elon. And then I think Matt Craycraft would also be an obvious starter. The fifth spot, there's a lot of those transfer guys that once again we've not been able to see. I know that Micah Siakin, however you say his last name, has a lot of guys talked about him and how he's a leader and all those things. So I don't know if he would be that guy, or maybe there's a guy from the two deep last year who's going to prove himself. But I believe those four guys, Fina, Pickett, Craycraft, Parker, are going to be mainstays. They've got to stay healthy, and then whoever the fifth person is. That's my opinion.
Yeah, all I will piggyback off of Josh. I agree with everything he said. I was there, and I'm not going to go into detail about the injury itself, but yeah, he is nursing an injury. Justin Pickett, that is. So hopefully he is good to go for the season.
All right, and along the same line of questioning, but Kelly also had he added what do we think the D line looks like this year as well? Because we had some some pretty good departures off the D line as well.
I mean, you want me to go again? Y'all can go if you want to. All right, I'll go. I mean, on the defensive tackle spot, you've got Kendi Charles, who we've already mentioned on the pod, came in from Liberty as a grad transfer, 4-star transfer. Don't expect him to not start there. On the interior defensive line, you have Wes Williams, who has played both on the interior and on the edge. And so it'll be interesting to see where they put him. Once again, we've not been at scrimmages. We don't really know what to say that they've been doing at practice, per se. And then I think you've got some guys in the middle there, from the two deep, Samaj Turner and daggone, I'm
Ryan
missing
Smith.
another guy, Terry Simmons.
I'll say Ryan Smith.
Ryan Smith will be on the edge though, so you got Ryan Smith on the edge, Michael Reese on the edge, VJ on the edge, and so I think that's the way it's going to look. I think you're going to run, 8 deep on the offensive line, and those are the guys I think that you'll see.
Yeah, I think we're okay on the defensive line, to be honest. I'm hoping for a big breakout season from VJ as well. Connor Smith on Facebook thought this was an interesting question. Would you rather get to play 2 top SEC teams but finish 5-7, or keep the mid majors and finish 7-5? I'm going to choose 7-5 every time because you get a bowl game. But what do y'all think?
Duke's done this in the past, and the record reflected. It's been about 4-8, 5-7. So I'm with you, Jamie. 7-5 all day long.
I guess it depends on who it is. I would love to start a rivalry with Vandy. I would love to play home and home with Vandy every year. It's not going to happen.
Used to do that. They used
years
to
ago.
play Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Well, they also used to play Tennessee too back in we were young.
Yeah, I'd love to play Tennessee
back when.
So 50.
I would love to play Tennessee.
Yeah. But I think more the question is, right, like SEC, like a for sure loss, right? So like I think he's talking about like a Georgia, LSU, Alabama, something like that. Now it would be cool if they came here and we did home and home. Obviously that'd be nice. But I agree, Jamie. I'd rather get to a bowl, and I'm just unashamed about that. Like I don't care what you got to do to mess with the schedule. Get us to a bowl game because that's extra football. It's extra practice time. It's good for your program.
But I'm like Scott too. I mean, if you can play an SEC team that you have a chance against, like if we could schedule a Vanderbilt, and I mean, to me, you have a chance to play like a Tennessee, and you have a chance to beat them. Duke can beat them, like absolutely. I mean, I would love to go up to Deland and play a road game up there. I mean, they did it before. Actually, I went when Ted Roof took Duke up there, and Duke actually, that was at the time when Ted Roof had just got named interim coach, and they played really well up there. And Tennessee had a hard time putting Duke away, but ended up Duke losing. But it was a fun experience, and I'd love for Duke to go back there. Then we got another question from Tyler Lester at TS Lester _. He says, will there be a honorary hydration station this year in B5 for Scott Medlin?
I would hope that the preparation before each game would be taken care of by the management team of that said individual, and that he would, maybe hit a Gatorade or 10 between the day before and the day of, just to make sure. But I'm gonna be honest with you, once we get past the first game, I mean, I won't be back in Wallace Wade until we play Chapel Hill College, so hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler by then.
Yeah, we'll get some liquid IV for Scott. So
yeah. So, and he had a second part to that to the question: how much do we think nationally and inside college football circles the perception of Duke has changed with all the changes and renovations and hires of staff and personnel?
So listen, you're not going to find me saying one negative thing only one negative thing about the previous coach regime, and that's the way he left. Mike Elko did a heck of a job in a lot of the stuff that Duke is now enjoying, including the locker room, including a lot of these ideas that are being implemented. And I believe he got Duke back on that respectable stage. What Duke did last year in hosting game day and taking Notre Dame all the way, to the end of the fourth quarter. I will say this: I don't know that the national media trusts the Manny Diaz hire per se. I don't know. I mean, obviously, as Brian stated earlier, we've got people saying we're going to go 3-9 and things like that. So, I think there's some question marks in the air, but I think that this season, if Duke goes out, gets to a bowl game, has a respectable season, once again, they're going to say, listen, this Duke program has gone through 3 coaches in 4 years, and they keep going to bowl games. So, you're going to continue to gain respect nationally. So I think it's all kind of on the shoulders of, can we transition this season and still be a winning football program?
I would say that I think Duke is going to have to win a game they're not supposed to win to get any love whatsoever nationally. I believe that personally. Even if they make a bowl game, there's not a lot of love. I mean, because let's just say they go 4-0 in November. NC State's the only real. By that point, if Virginia Tech, is not where top 25-ish, then nobody cares. NC State, in theory, should still be in the top 25 by the time we get to November. So unless they're there and it matters, no one's going to care. If Duke goes to the who really gives a crap.com bowl, they don't care because nobody's giving them a chance. I mean, we pointed that out today in the group text. Nobody gives them a chance to even go to a freaking bowl game. So it's going to take more. It's going to take having to beat somebody like an NC State in Raleigh or a Virginia Tech, maybe if Virginia Tech is ranked, kind of like we mentioned earlier, to me, for the national media to give a little love. And it doesn't help the conference or help Duke in the conference now that we've added 3 more teams. Now, I think beating an SMU would definitely open the eyes as we get to turn the calendar from October to November. But if we play SMU and they smack the crap out of us, then they're going to be like, oh, it's basketball season again in Durham. Nobody gives a crap. The national media is going to go ahead and forget the Duke even plays anything until, Vegas in November and the round ball.
Who gives a crap.com bowl? Where's that played at, Scott?
It's in Louisiana, I believe.
Shreveport,
yes.
All right,
it took over for the Armpit of Louisiana Bowl.
All right, let me ask y'all this, because as Scott was talking, I thought about this. Do you think the reason why the media is not harsh, but gives that perception of every year, regardless of who the coach is, regardless of who the players this team has playing on the field is, well, yeah, but it's probably going to be one of those seasons because of the 20-plus years Duke won like 1 game, 2 games, 0 games. And then you throw in Cutcliffe, who we talked about this. He only had 5 winning seasons. Fans forget that. The rest of the seasons were not winning seasons, folks. But then when you have Mike Elko come in, right the ship, gone in 2 years. I wonder if it's the same perception of, and again, I know the man hasn't even coached his first game. When would Manny Diaz leave if the right opportunity came up? I don't want to talk about that, but do you think that because there's not consistency in the positive manner that media is not giving Duke the shot every year? I mean, I feel like they could have the ghost of Wallace Wade coaching on the sidelines. They'd be like, yeah, but this team's probably only going to win 4 games this year.
Yeah, I think you're right thinking that way, Brian. But you know what? Here's the deal. That's the reality of Duke football now, in my opinion. The David Cutcliffes don't exist anymore. The guys who are like, I'm coming here and staying and planting my roots for 15 years. That's just not the way it is. Not at a program like Duke. I mean, because at the end of the day, a school with a lot more money is going to come calling at some point in time. And these guys are going to move on. And that's the harsh reality. And I'm not going to go down this road all the way, but why this really matters, and whoever asked this question, Thank you. Why this really matters is conference realignment, and the football program must be successful. There is no Duke does not have any wiggle room there. Like, the football program has to be successful. It's got to be generating serious money. It's got to be leading the way, because it does. Sorry, basketball fans, your men's basketball program does not move the needle when it comes to conference realignment. Look at UConn and Villanova. Notice no one wants them in their conference. So it's all about football, and Duke football has got to stay on the winning side in bowl games. You know, at the very least 6-6, get into bowl games in order to continue the quest to fall where they need to fall in realignment.
I'll make one more point there, and I'll leave it alone. If you want respect, Duke football, you're gonna have to earn it. You have to earn it on the scoreboard, on the televisions. I mean, we're gonna do our part. The fan base is gonna do their part, but the guys out there on the field, the coaches, they have to do their part, and we have to win the scoreboards to win the national media on our side.
Also, the more you win, the more people listen to the podcast. So that'd be cool too.
Please win.
Please win. Please win. All right, next question. Peter Dodge. I got Peter Dodge. My concern of running the up-tempo offense is the counter defense involving the last-second excruciating leg cramp that ACC officials will swallow hook, line, and sinker. Is there anything in the officials' handbook to deal with the obvious shenanigans?
So you're saying, so Peter's saying, in the fourth quarter, we're speeding up our offense, and a American football player turns into a football player and flops and dives. That's what they call it in soccer, right? They dive. So I don't there's nothing that can be done about this, evidently, because how are you going to prove that the guy's not cramping up, or how are you going to prove they didn't tweak an ankle? But it is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous to see. And here's the thing: if it's going to happen, I want to see us do it too, right? If other teams are going to take advantage of it against us, then daggone it, our defense needs to do the same thing. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, it's we always joke that the Wallace Wade sniper is active when players just magically go down after there's nothing the previous play that we look at and go, oh my goodness, they tweaked an ankle or they messed up their knee because of this happening. You can see coaches going like this on the sideline, like go down, and the players are going, what? Oh, okay, and then they fall back, and then the refs have to call it. But you don't know, like the one time they would penalize a team, the player would have like a torn ACL or their leg would be like in the shape of an L. So it's frustrating, but to Josh's point, fight fire with fire. Oh, you're going to stop our momentum? Get the ball back and see what happens.
Yep.
We're going to have some players come up with some mystery injuries.
Hey, and for the record, we're going to see a few new white hats this season, because we've had some retirees in the conference. Some new guys are coming in and going to be over. So we're the Flanagans and those guys like that turned a blind eye to things that were obvious may not be there anymore.
It'd be nice if they got held accountable, right? Well, Jamie, we're going to take a quick pause and talk about our another sponsor that we have, and this is El Rodeo Mexican Restaurant. Brian, cue the mariachi band.
Yeah, that's all I can do. I'm out.
There we go. El Rodeo Mexican Restaurant on North Duke Street in Durham, up in the parking lot near Staples and Cookout there. Hit up El Rodeo. They have amazing food. If you have a party, say of 20 people, that they could probably hold a party of 30 people. They have a private room you can use there. Just really good food. The guys there, Mario and his team are incredible. And so El Rodeo, North Duke Street. If you go in there, tell them you listen to the Section 17 podcast. The waitresses might look at you like you're crazy, but the more people tell them that, they're going to go back and tell the managers, and that's a good thing for us. And so maybe before game day, it's about 10 minutes away from campus. And so maybe before a game, go hit that up. Maybe after a game, if it's an early one, go hit up El Rodeo there on North Duke Street. We thank them for being our Iron D sponsor for the season.
Where's your picture at on the wall?
You
You're
know,
you're the Hall of Fame customer, right?
I am, and I should be on the wall. We have a friend of ours. His name's Justin Goss, and his high school basketball jersey is hanging framed at Pizza Inn in Durham, and so he's a big boy, and his jersey is at Pizza Inn. So I can't top that one.
Yeah, it's not because of what he did on the basketball court. It's
Oh,
because
no.
of what he did in the buffet lines at the Pizza Inn.
That's right.
It's a milky smooth jersey.
That's right. That's right. So I would love for that. I would love my picture to be up on the wall at El Rodeo. Maybe one day that will happen. Jamie, let's get back to some questions.
All right. Next question. It's Regina Lee coming all the way from Cali. First, she has a non-football question. She says, "For real, why hasn't Jamie invited the pod crew to the beach?" And in my defense, I gave them the address and they just didn't come. Like, it's
No,
What?
folks.
what?
No,
What?
not only does Jamie not invite us to the beach, he does not invite us to movie night either. After he told us he would.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my defense, I got invited last second by a friend to go see the new Deadpool movie.
I've even been to Holden Beach, and Jamie's like, I saw him at the grocery store. He like ducked behind the counter and took off running, so he didn't have to talk to me. It was wild.
Yeah, so when Jamie says a friend invited him last minute, he looked at the mirror and went, "You want to go see the new Deadpool
Exactly.
movie?" Yeah, okay.
I know who my real friends in Holden Beach are, Jamie. Troy and Chris. Those are my Carolina fans of all people.
They are legit. They are legit.
But no, the truth is, Jamie, Regina, by the way, thank you for this question. We do need to set up like a fishing, like a charter. Like, I'd be down for that. So I don't know if you get Scott out there.
I would do it.
Okay.
I'm
All
not
right,
a fisherman, but I would definitely go do it to say I did it.
Hey, I'm down. As long as Ethan goes and can help guide us.
Nah, Jamie will list his house for sale before he invites us.
I love it. Tell the CFO we'll even pay our own way.
Yeah. All right. She has a football question as well. Have the players shared any insights into how the program is different this season under Diaz and his staff? How is Diaz's approach to prep different from Elko's? Josh, you got anything, or Brian?
I will say this, and this is not a dig at either coach before I say what I'm about to say. What we were told in the past with Mike is that he was very hands-on. He had to have his hands in everything. He wanted to know what every position coach was doing. He wanted to know what they were thinking. He wanted to know what his staff off the field was doing. And that's fine. Some coaches are like that. Kudos to him. The results showed. From what we've heard with Manny, he trusts people more than having to be everywhere and having everyone telling him what everyone's doing. If he hired you to be a scout, he expects results. He doesn't ask. He wants you to come to him and say, "Coach, this is what we see." If he hired you to be, again, I'm just going off of what I've been told, like our SID, do your job. Don't expect him to ask, when you're going to do things and how you're going to do it. Manny expects you to do your job for which you were hired. So, very, very night and day difference from Mike Elko to Manny Diaz in that aspect. Have not heard much from the players. We have been a part of some of the press conferences afterwards, and I honestly don't think anyone's asked them that. Could be wrong, but I have not heard anything from the players yet. But from what we've seen, I think your transitional piece has been David Feely to help go from Mike Elko to Manny Diaz.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna. When I said I wanted to say something, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna ask, well, what's been the one thing that didn't change? And that's the biggest thing was David Feely. I mean, I even heard. I'm pretty sure I'm not dreaming this. Manny Diaz on the on McLean and Gramlich or whatever said that he doesn't even know if he's at Duke if Feely's not here. So it was huge to keep Feely.
I love that, and I know he's much more like soft spoken. Manny is. He's got a different vibe about him than Elko, but Brian has seen, and I've seen it firsthand in practice. When he is not happy, everybody and within a square mile knows he is not happy. He knows how to motivate. Let's put it that way.
I've never heard a gym go or an indoor facility go so quiet so quickly. me and Tyler, our producer, were there. To Josh's point, when he gets upset, when execution is not happening, you find out very quickly he is not happy.
All right, and I promise I didn't set up the questions this way on purpose because we had two in a row from Peter Dodge, and now we got two in a row from Regina Lee. At Regina Lee _LA. Based on your exposure to practice, how well does Duke's personnel fit or not fit Brewers' up-tempo offense and Manny's defensive philosophy?
That's a tough one, Regina, and we talked about this last week. Practice is a different beast because, as Josh stated it, there's going to be some scenarios that are put into practice just to see how the offense reacts or the defense reacts. There have been some times where you can tell the team is still learning through some of the system, both offensively and defensively. That's tough, Josh. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
The only thing I could say is two things, and the first one affects both offense and defense. This is the first year with the mics and the helmets, and so that is going to speed up the offense for sure. It's going to allow Brewer to be in Malik's ear immediately when the play's over, and so that's important. But then I think on the offensive end, we mentioned it earlier. We were talking about wide receiver depth and running back depth. I think the fact that we have three guys in the running back room that can rotate in, we've got 5 or 6, 7 guys in the wide receiver room that we feel comfortable being a part of that rotation. I think that helps us on the offensive side of the football, get up and down the field. The question then is, and I don't have the answer to this, Regina, is there the same sort of too deep depth on the defensive side? Because we know the faster your offense scores, the quicker your defense is back on the field. And so, I don't know what that looks like. I don't have the answer. That's just going to have to play out during the season, and we're going to have to see.
Sorry, Marlon started barking, so I was trying to stay muted until he had his rage on whatever is outside the front door.
Twitter Marlon.
Yeah. And there he goes. He's still going. Somebody's trying to break in, apparently. Kurt Klein on Facebook, and I thought this was a great question. What can we do to stop the stupidity of playing the visiting team's fight song? And will we be dumb enough to play the Tar Heels when they come? And Kirk, you're preaching to the choir here. We've for a long time wanted them to stop that. It's just dumb. It's dumb. I don't know what else to say. It's just as dumb. Or one thing that was just as dumb was when we were so bad over that. Y'all remember when we were so bad, and the band used to go over to the opposing team fans and they would play Wipeout, and then we would proceed to get beat by 60 on our own home field. So that was just as bad. But I think the visiting team fight songs is also equally as bad as that.
I think there are many other ways you can show good sportsmanship than doing that. Now, I do remember the 2 years ago when Duke came out, their entrance for the Carolina game was jump around, and I think that was a troll job. I think that was Duke trolling.
In the air tonight.
Oh, it's right in the air. That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's what it was. It was in the air tonight, which is what Carolina comes out to. I think that was a troll job. I'm cool with troll jobs. Like if you're doing it, but not like we want to extend a friendly welcome, to our friends from Chapel Hill. Like, no, we don't. We really don't. Like, we'll be friendly to you outside the stadium. We'll be friendly to you at the tailgates. Look, we got friends that are Carolina fans. They can sit with us. We love those guys. But we don't need to play your fight song, and we don't need to play anybody's fight song. That is the official stance of this podcast.
It's been 74 years since that rule in the 1950s came out, and I can guarantee you when we were in Kenan Stadium last year, they did not extend the warm welcome to Duke by playing Duke's fight song. They're not going to do it in Carter Finley Stadium. They're sure as heck aren't going to do it in Virginia Tech when they go back to Virginia Tech. Enter Sandman's going to be blaring when Duke goes back in there. So, yeah, we talk about this. There's just some ways that have been set, and it's going to be hard to break those ways. But, you got to read the room. It's time to put that tradition to bed.
I mean, I would say when you're at the OH, do you think they play that song from the team up north? There's no freaking way.
If anybody from Duke is listening, please, for the love of God, stop playing the visiting team's fight song. It's embarrassing. It truly is.
Listen, at this point, I would be okay if they played that sorry song, Fast Cars or whatever song that is. If they played that to the fans, I'm okay with that. I would live with that over that. And that song is one of the worst ever.
What about Every Time We Touch so Josh can dance?
Fellas, I knew this was going to get brought up. In case you're new to the pod,
Hey, it's
Every
okay.
Time We Touch is like 30% acceptable at Cameron. It is 0% acceptable at Wallace Wade. There is nothing worse before going out and literally banging helmets and shoulder pads with other grown men in tights than to play a song called Every Time We Touch and do that. Yeah, like punch your little fist in the air. Like, come on, people. It is the most anti-football song in the history of music. And so the only thing, next, what are we going to do? Like some Celine Dion or something? Like My Heart Will Go On? I'm not sure what we could do to be worse than that.
Hey, that brings up a good point. I don't think
Making
anyone
my
asked.
way downtown.
Yeah.
Do some Vanessa Carlton.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but no one's asked this, but I'm going to ask this. What do you think the song to come out to for the team's going to be? We have not even thought about that because we knew it was Let Me Introduce Myself by Jay-Z.
Reintroduce. Yep. Allow me to reintroduce myself.
I'm wondering what the coaching staff or the team.
Well, Manny said it's going to be It's going to be the players' decision on a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
The day that y'all covered with the coaches, do we ask Manny what his playlist was or what his song was?
Yeah, it was like classic rock type stuff. It was like U2 and stuff like that. So it's not going to be anything like
Come on,
that.
baby.
80s stuff like that, I think would be perfect. I mean, that's the perfect opportunity, Brian, in my opinion.
Like Hell's Bells, like Welcome to the Jungle, like.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite intro of all time was when NC State did what's that? Here Comes the Boom.
Yeah,
that was so good. But yeah, I think Duke could be really. It could be really good with Hell's Bells. You know, the bell starts ringing or to start it out. You know, that's when the video camera is going to start in the locker room and like they start coming down because that's a long intro. I think that could be really cool.
All right, so our next question comes from @BlueDevil2K10. What's our biggest trap game? I'll go first since I'm unmuted, and I mean we all might go the same way or we might go differently. I think it's at Middle Tennessee State. I mean, it's the week before we play Carolina, and we're we want that bell back after the last 2 years of just shenanigans going on in that game. I mean, I just feel like Middle Tennessee State could be that trap game. I mean, I don't think we lose that game, but it could be that type of game where they're kind of looking forward to Carolina the next week.
What I would say, if we beat Chapel Hill College, Georgia Tech game, because will the team be able to ride that high, knowing that we beat the rival after the quarterback pulled the golden horseshoe out of his backside the last 2 years and won the game. They don't have that guy anymore, that fourth-string quarterback in Notre Dame. I mean, New England, they don't have him no more. They got Max Johnson.
You guys picked the two games that I would have picked, so I got nothing else to add on that.
I'm going to say Wake Forest, last game of the year.
How can that be a trap game?
Imagine Duke going in at 5 wins. God forbid.
My God, stop. I can't believe you just said that in a public setting.
Listen,
Brian, if that happens, I'm blaming you.
You blame me for worse. So
I will blame you.
But
I'll put your picture on Twitter.
Duke has won the last 2 games after Wake had. I mean, how long of a winning streak do they have? So Wake's going to be looking for redemption. Fine. You know what, Josh? Forget it. Let's say the Duke's already.
It's a good thought. It's a good thought. I'm just pissed that you said it.
But when we get to that game and it's happening, I don't want to hear anything. No, I don't want it to happen. But you know what I'm saying, though.
I get it completely.
Because the Wake game is typically the last game. This is Duke's new rivalry game. It has been for the last 10 years, and it's in Winston. They're going to be looking for blood. God, I hope that doesn't happen. You know what, Tyler, edit this out if you could.
All right. Jason Rogers at Jason Rogers 14920 or at Jason RO, sorry, 814-920-39. And this is a question for Josh because he works with the Durham Devils Club.com. What happens with what happens with the NIL deals? So I guess he wants a explanation of what goes into NIL deals, Josh.
That's just what's the deal with NIL deals? Is that the question? Well, I guess kind of a broad answer. So yeah, to work with the Durham Devils Club. Wait just 1 second. Ba-ba-boom. There we go. And work with the Durham Devils Club, director of operations for them. If you're asking, like, how do those things come about and how do those things happen? We work hand in hand with the coaching staff. So we work hand in hand with Coach Diaz, with his staff, and come up with, there's a lot that goes into it, but you have to understand what the market is, just like in anything. You have to kind of understand what the market is. With the Durham Devils Club, we're very, very strong on providing scope of work for guys to do. I'm not sure that it's like that at other places, but these guys are out in the community. These guys this summer went and did a full day at a football camp. These guys are going to be making some appearances with some of our corporate partners. These guys, we're multi-sport, so we've got a men's tennis team, a full team going to serve at the Emily K Center at in a volunteer role there as a part of an NIL thing. So there's a lot of stuff going on like that. I will say this. A lot of people see the NIL stuff like you see the On3, social media of like 2 players from Texas got Lamborghini deals, or whatever. You hear about so and so player got X amount of money, in the transfer portal, and they're not lying. That's maybe the top like 1 to 2% of players are getting stupid, crazy things like that. The majority of players are not getting crazy, crazy money. And a lot of players are leaving certain schools to go other places for a little bit more money. And come to find out, the NIL collective, overshot their budget or didn't really have that amount of money to play with, and they're not getting what they were promised verbally. And so we don't operate that way with Durham Devils Club. Everything's on the up and up. And like I said, we work hand in hand with our coaches and whatnot. So to provide a good experience, we want these guys to leave Duke not just with a football, career, but with a 40-year career after that of whatever they want to do in life. And so DDC tries to help out with that. So that's kind of the way we run it.
Okay, so this next one at Brian Genwright. He's this is a question for our for our bolitologist. Will we know if we will make a bowl game after the Northwestern game? I'm sure Brian will have a projection.
Oh, there's going to be a projection coming out next week on the Duke Report with Freddie Hodges, folks. So be ready for that. I think depending on the performance of Duke at Northwestern could dictate the rest of the season. Because again, Northwestern finished 8-5 last year, won their bowl game, got a lot of momentum heading into this year. Honestly, I'm going to kind of do a cop out. I think after the Carolina game, we'll know for sure whether this team is going to go to a bowl game or not. Jamie, you all right?
Hey, I'm not a bulletologist. I start carrying the last 2 weeks of the season, Brian.
Yeah, you're like me with basketball season.
Yeah, about so. But I will say, he asked about the Northwestern game specifically.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a good question because
I agree. I think if Duke goes up there and takes care of business and wins that game, and like wins it without You know what I mean? Consistently first quarter, second quarter, third, fourth quarter, all the way through. It's not close. I would put my money on Duke getting 6 wins. I think if we go up there and we lose, I'm not putting my money on if we get 6 wins. So
Can you? I mean, and I'm going to state part of my segment with Freddie. Can you imagine this team possibly being bowl eligible before Halloween? That would be pretty nuts.
it would
And
be,
It
but
could.
I just think
It
it
could
sets
happen.
us up for an epically bad second half of the season.
I know, but still, just to have this, just to say Duke's going to a bowl game with
I
the
agree.
brutal November schedule,
Yeah.
regardless. So,
I mean, and that definitely could happen. Another part to Brian Generate's question. We answered a couple of the other things, so I'm gonna go to what's the over under on Malik rushing for 350 yards. Over under on 350 yards.
I'm going under pocket passer.
I would go under as well. I agree.
I'm not going to be negative. I'm going to keep my thought to myself.
Remember, he himself said he was Justin Herbert, who does not
Right.
like to run.
Hopefully he's not running for his life. Like, that would be the only thing.
Yeah, if there's cracks in the O line, he might be running.
So this is a question for Brian. He actually got an answer for this on Twitter from one Nina King at B Porus 1 said, did they give freshmen personalized football jerseys again?
Yes. And thanks again, Nina, friend of the pod, for replying. We were all wondering and curious, so I shot my shot because they had photos of, I think it was the men's basketball team moving in. So I
did find a tweet, Brian, and I mean it was earlier, and we missed it. Duke Athletics tweeted earlier,
okay.
and I didn't catch it, but yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
But hey, she
yeah.
responded.
She
That,
did.
you know.
I was like, so just so y'all know, I texted around. I'm like, bro, there's no way she's replying to that tweet. And like 10 minutes later, he was like, well, she just replied.
I guess Nina likes me more.
Yeah, it's funny.
You know,
that was awesome.
I think I speak for everyone on this podcast when I say kudos to Duke for continuing the tradition that really
another thing that Mike Elko started.
Yep. But to see all those freshmen in Cameron Indoor Stadium, as Manny Diaz talked with them about the upcoming season, all wearing their 28 jerseys with their names on the back, love it. Can't wait to see them Wallace Wade.
All right. I'll close it out with this one. At Dangerous Dave _4 wants to know what our projections for what our home conference record will be. Probably the toughest home slate out of any team in the conference this season.
So let's remember it's home
UNC.
to UConn. Well, I'm UConn.
No, conference.
Elon.
Home conference.
Oh, conference. I'm sorry. Well, I'm already out. But yeah, UNC, Virginia Tech,
Florida State,
Virginia Tech, SMU.
SMU.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Virginia
that's it. We
Tech.
have 2 other home games.
Yeah.
Oof.
6 home, 6 away.
Ooh, to me, Carolina's the best shot on that list. SMU be second.
If Duke goes 500 against those 4 teams, I'll be happy. I don't care the 2 teams that the wins against. If they go 2-2, I'll be happy. If they go 3-1, I'll be ecstatic. If they go 4-0, boys, we're going to the playoff.
Yeah.
If
they go 4-0, pick me up at the quad there in the middle of all the dorms. I'll be in the bonfire somewhere.
I mean, if in our stat projections, I picked Duke to beat FSU, but I just don't see it. I was going for a steak, if we're being honest.
No, you played the game like you should, and now you're regretting it because we're gonna have to pay for someone else's dinner again.
But I feel like if they can beat, like Josh said, UNC and SMU, I mean, that's pretty good. And then who knows about? I feel like there's a chance they could beat Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech could also be really, really good. So it's really kind of hard to say. We'll know more once we get closer to that game.
Do we have really quick? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do we have any idea how many miles SMU is traveling this year? Because I know Cal is going through the ringer. I don't know if SMU is going through the same type of schedule because that could be in Duke's favor as well.
Well, let's be honest. Florida State and Georgia Tech going to Ireland next weekend, to Dublin. That's a lot of trips right there.
Yeah, it is, and that's not easy. Well, listen, Jamie, thank you for putting those together. hey, guys who send in and ladies who send in questions, we really appreciate it. That's why we do this. We love to interact with you. We love to try to answer to the best of our ability your questions. We want to remind you to fill out the stat predictions form. And so enter that contest. Number one, if you win, Brian's holding up the mini helmet that is freaking sweet. It's got all the details on it, like the Duke helmet would have, even the Bull City hands in the front. And so that's a Section 17 helmet. You win a t-shirt as well. And then remember, everyone who enters this contest is going to be entered into the drawing for 4 free tickets to the Elon game, courtesy of our sponsor, Matt Bliven. So we want to give him another shout out. Once again, if you have any real estate needs, you can email him at mlb@nestrealty.com. And then we want to give one more shout out to Home Field Apparel. Section 17, all caps, straight through, to save 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com. And then we are just waiting on the launch of Hometown Air. Those are our friends in the HVAC world. We've had a relationship with them for the last 2 years on the commercial side, and this is their dive into the residential side. We are working on a special rate just for podcast listeners. And so if you listen to the podcast, you do a service deal with them, they're going to give you a special rate. And so that's going to be really cool. We're going to get more details as soon as they are ready for that. Quick housekeeping, guys. YouTube, you guys have been awesome. We just released Brian's dream video. He got to sit down with Wes Pickle, with Chris Woosley, the other guys there, and talk to Duke Equipment. You got to see Brian put together a helmet. Brian, real quick, man, how was that, dude?
So it was great. I messed up royally on the Big Blue D. Amateur mistake.
It was your first time. It was your first time.
It was. I did not realize this, that the I'll show you this, like the face mask. Like, you see how I've got screws in the mini helmet? It's not like that on a college football helmet. It's like these push pins that connect the face mask with the helmet. So that was something I'd never experienced before. That was tough. So shout out to Wes and Chris. They have to do that probably every other week for either anywhere from 85 to, I think Wes said, 110 helmets, depending on if it's a road game or a home game. I just had a greater appreciation for what those guys have done all these years. Again, Wes has been with the program since 2008. I don't know how long Chris has been around, but they are the true really grinders behind the scenes to make sure that Duke looks as best they can when it comes to football games. But yeah, that was a dream come true. They opened everything up for us and they welcomed us with open arms, and it was a great experience. If you haven't seen it yet, go to YouTube on our page. We've also got the David Feely interview. We've gotten some good responses there. David's a great friend of the pod, always welcomes us as well whenever we want to talk with him, all things Duke. But yeah,
Make sure you subscribe too. If you're there,
yeah.
You might as well subscribe, like, comment. We try to interact on YouTube, and then Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok is at Duke FB Talk. On Facebook, if you just search Duke Football Talk, there are some other groups out there. Make sure you search Duke Football Talk. That's our group. We try to keep it good in there. And so we want to connect with you. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate us. If you're on Apple, please leave us a review, 5-star rating, and a review. Reviews help us a ton. We have a lot of reviews. I think we're up to like 69 reviews currently. And so be our number 70 would be awesome. But we really appreciate that. And as always, you can email us thoughts to DukeFBTalk@gmail.com. Have I missed anything, guys? No?
No.
All right, guys. So we're going to be at Elon. We believe we're going to be able to do like a mini tailgate. We're not sure yet. We're going to give you details on next week's episode, but a little mini tailgate in the B lots. So we'll give you more information next week.
And as of right, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, I want to throw a quick shout out to John. Had a conversation with him the other day on the phone. Really cool opportunity there. Big regular weekly listener. Talked about his son being in his first game, Cutcliffe's first game. And actually last weekend moved him into Lenore-Rhine College. So shout out to John and his wife and the family there. Thank you for being Section 17 listeners. but also being big Duke fans. Looking forward to seeing you out there at some games maybe this season.
And going back to the predictions, we have 30 responses right now, folks. So you have a 1 in 30 chance as of right now to win the t-shirt and the mini helmet, but also those Elon tickets for next week's drawing. And next week's episode will be back in regular season form, where we have the tell of the tape. We're hoping to have an interview with someone from the ACC network. We'll just leave it at that. We'll give, as always, our score predictions as well as our jersey and helmet predictions. And yeah.
Hey, we have an addition to the tailgate. We won't give it away, but let's just say you'll be able to recognize where we're at a little bit easier this year. That's all we can say. That's all we can say. We've upgraded around these parts.
Will it hold up like the Devil's deck?
We hope so. It's cardboard, so we'll see.
Let's hope it doesn't rain the first game.
That's right.
Well, another episode in the books. We went through every single question you guys had for us. And as always, we will continue the mailbag segment throughout the season. So keep those questions coming as we get deeper and deeper into the season. But that will wrap it up for this episode. As always, with Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, Scott Medlin, and producer Tyler Witt, I'm Brian Kennedy, and this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.